Just do what you have to do.
Back in 1973, Soylent Green shocked moviegoers with a dark future where food is running out. And the solution is terrifying. It's set in the year 2022, and weirdly, it got a lot of things right about our world today. But the movie isn't just famous for its creepy twist. There's a whole world of strange, surprising stories connected to the film that you probably haven't heard. Let's dive into 20 weird facts about Soylent Green you didn't know.
Soylent Green is people!
Number 1. The final line, almost cut. Soylent Green is people. It's one of the most famous lines in movie history. But believe it or not, that line almost didn't make it into the film. During early edits, some producers thought it sounded too dramatic, maybe even a little silly. They worried people would laugh at it instead of being shocked. There were talks about cutting or changing the line completely, but Charlton Heston fought to keep it in. He believed it was the emotional core of the whole movie. Without that line, the twist wouldn't hit nearly as hard. In the end, they left it in and it paid off. That one sentence became the movie's legacy. It's been quoted, parodied, and referenced in shows like The Simpsons, Saturday Night Live, and even Futurama. It's short, shocking, and unforgettable. And it all came very close to being left on the cutting room floor. Number 2. The real year it was set in. Soylent Green takes place in the year 2022, a future that felt far away when the movie came out in 1973. Back then, people imagined flying cars, robot servants, and shiny space cities. Instead, this movie showed something scarier, a world falling apart. In the dystopian future imagined by Soylent Green, Earth is overcrowded, the air is dirty, food is fake, and most people live in poverty. Sound familiar? Some fans were shocked at how close parts of the movie felt to real life once the actual year 2022 arrived. No flying cars, just heat, crowds, and rising prices. It's not a perfect prediction, but Soylent Green nailed the feeling of a world in crisis, way before climate change and overpopulation were major topics in movies or news.
What they need most is Soylent Green.
The supply of Soylent Green has been exhausted. Return to your home.
Number 3. Based on a novel. You might be surprised to hear that Soylent Green is actually based on a book, but the original story was pretty different. It came from a 1966 novel called Make Room by science fiction writer Harry Harrison. The book tackled big issues like overpopulation, poverty, and a collapsing environment, but there was no big cannibalism twist. In fact, Soylent was just a normal food made from soy and lentils. The name totally makes sense now, right? The movie added the Soylent Green is people shocker later on to give it more drama. Harrison wasn't exactly thrilled, but he admitted it made the story unforgettable. So while the book stayed serious, the movie went darker, and that's what made it legendary. Number 4. Heston didn't know the twist. Charlton Heston, the star of Soylent Green, didn't actually know the big twist, that Soylent Green is people, when he first got the script. The ending was left super vague on purpose. The producers were nervous it might leak or just sound too weird out of context. Heston later said he was totally shocked when he found out, but he loved it. He thought the twist gave the story more weight and made his character Detective Thorne way more interesting. Funny enough, Heston already had experience with jaw-dropping endings. Remember Planet of the Apes? He definitely had a knack for iconic science fiction reveals. Number 5. That emotional dinner scene was improvised.
L'chaim.
One of the most touching scenes in the movie happens when Thorne and Saul share a rare meal of real food, a luxury in their broken world. They toast with wine, taste fresh produce, and for a moment, life feels normal again. Here's the wild part. That scene was mostly improvised. Director Richard Fleischer encouraged Charlton Heston and Edward G. Robinson to just act like two old friends. They weren't given many lines, just the food and the moment. They even included the line L'chaim, a Hebrew toast meaning to life, which Robinson, who was Jewish, suggested himself. The result is a scene that feels genuine, emotional, and full of history between the characters and the actors behind them. That small moment of peace in a dying world hits harder because it wasn't perfectly scripted. It was real, from the heart. Number 6. Banned in some countries. Soylent Green may seem tame by today's standards, but in the 1970s, its dark themes and shocking twist made it too much for some places. The film was either heavily censored or outright banned in a few countries due to its disturbing content, especially the idea of people being turned into food. In some parts of Europe and Asia, local censors felt the film was too bleak, too political, or just too graphic. The concept of government-backed cannibalism hit a nerve, especially in places where food shortages or political unrest were real concerns. Even in the US, the movie sparked controversy. Some viewers found it disgusting, while others praised it for being bold and different. Over time, those bans were lifted, but the film's ability to shock remains, even decades later. Number 7. He died 12 days after filming. Edward G. Robinson passed away just 12 days after wrapping up filming on Soylent Green. He died on January 26, 1973, before the movie was even released. This made his performance in the film, especially the emotional death scene, even more powerful. Robinson was a Hollywood legend, known for his roles in gangster films like Little Caesar and Key Largo. But in Soylent Green, he showed a softer, more human side. His character, Saul Roth, chooses to end his life at a government-run facility, surrounded by peaceful images of nature, a world long gone in the film's dystopia. What the audience didn't know was that Robinson himself was very sick with terminal cancer. He kept it private and stayed professional until the very end. The timing was heartbreaking. When the movie came out, Robinson's death was still fresh in the minds of viewers. His final performance wasn't just acting, it was a goodbye. It gave Soylent Green a deeper emotional weight that no one could have planned. Number 8. Assisted suicide scene was real. The assisted suicide scene in Soylent Green is one of the most emotional moments in the film, and for Charlton Heston, it felt heartbreakingly real. In that scene, Edward G. Robinson's character Saul decides he's had enough of life in a ruined world. He goes to a government clinic, lies down, and is surrounded by peaceful music and images of nature as he dies. What most people didn't know was that Robinson was dying in real life. He was terminally ill, and only a few people on set knew. Heston was one of them. Years later, Heston talked about filming that scene. He said it was incredibly hard to shoot because he knew it wasn't just a performance for Robinson. It felt like a real farewell, like he was watching his friend pass away in front of the camera. There were no second takes, just one shot. Heston said he barely held it together. Knowing that truth gives the scene an extra layer of meaning. It's not just a powerful moment in the movie, it's a real goodbye between two Hollywood legends. Number 9. Real crowds and riot scenes.
Are on their way.
Some of the most intense scenes in Soylent Green are the food riots. Huge, chaotic crowds pushing and fighting just to survive. What you might not know is that many of those scenes were shot using real New Yorkers as extras, and things didn't always go as planned. Filming in busy parts of the city, the crew had limited control over the crowds. At times, people passing by didn't even realize a movie was being filmed. They just got caught up in the madness. In one scene, when scoops, giant bulldozer-like vehicles, start pushing people into trucks, the panic looked real because a lot of it was. Some extras were actually injured during the shoot, and filming had to stop more than once when things got too wild. It added a raw, uncontrolled energy to the movie that felt way more real than most science fiction films at the time. Number 10. Real sweat was part of the set. To make the future of Soylent Green feel oppressively hot and overcrowded, the filmmakers skipped the special effects and went with something simpler. They shut off the air conditioning during filming. That meant the cast, including Charlton Heston, was really sweating on camera. The heat you see? Totally real. Some scenes were even shot during actual heat waves, so the discomfort wasn't acting. It was just the actors dealing with brutal conditions on set. It helped sell the movie's vision of a world in collapse, where even the temperature feels like the enemy. This low-tech trick ended up being one of the most effective ways to show how rough life had become in the year 2022. Sometimes, suffering for your art actually pays off, at least for the audience watching it. Number 11. First movie to feature a video game. Here's a fun little detail you might have missed. Soylent Green might be the first movie to ever show a real video game on screen. In one scene, Lee Taylor Young's character is casually playing Computer Space, an actual arcade game that came out in 1971, 2 years before the movie. It's considered the forerunner to Pong and a big part of video game history. The machine didn't exactly scream futuristic, so the filmmakers painted it bright white to match the movie's dystopian look. At the time, most people had no clue what it was. Video games weren't mainstream yet. Turns out, Soylent Green wasn't just predicting the future of food. It was also giving us an early peek at the future of fun. Number 12. Climate change and overpopulation. Soylent Green might look like wild science fiction at first glance, but it actually nailed a lot about the future, especially when it comes to climate change and overpopulation. In the movie, the planet's overheated, resources are almost gone, and regular people live in poverty while the rich hang on to whatever's left. Sound familiar? Back in 1973, that seemed extreme. Today, it feels a little too real. We've got rising temperatures, crowded cities, polluted air, and growing food insecurity. The film imagined 40 million people crammed into New York City, mystery food on every plate, and a world stretched to its breaking point. It wasn't just for shock value, it was a warning. Critics didn't talk much about that back then, but now, it's clear Soylent Green was way ahead of its time. Survival might come down to what we choose to ignore or what we're willing to eat. Number 13. Lee Taylor Young studied furniture to play one.
I like you. You're a hell of a piece of furniture.
Lee Taylor Young, who played Cheryl in Soylent Green, had a pretty strange way of preparing for her role. Since her character was basically treated like part of the apartment, literally considered furniture, she started flipping through luxury home catalogs to get into character. She imagined what it'd be like to be picked out the same way you'd choose a couch or a lamp. Weird, right? But it worked. Her calm, polished vibe in the film was meant to feel eerie, like she didn't quite belong in the chaos outside. That quiet, unsettling presence still gets under your skin. Number 14. Edward G. Robinson was nearly deaf while filming. Edward G. Robinson delivered a moving final performance in Soylent Green, made even more impressive by the fact that he was nearly deaf during filming. In his later years, Robinson struggled with severe hearing loss, making it difficult to hear cues or fellow actors. To help, scenes were rehearsed in detail so he could memorize timing. Charlton Heston often gave him subtle signals or whispered lines into his ear. Sometimes, Robinson didn't even hear the director yell "cut" and kept going. His reliance on emotion and instinct rather than sound brought a deep intensity to his role, making it unforgettable. Number 15. Pop culture references.
Bleak, horrible future we live in.
Don't you mean present?
Right, present. Anyway, can I get you some Soylent Green?
Isn't that made of people?
What if the secret ingredient is people?
No, there's already a soda like that. Soylent Cola.
Oh,
Even if you've never watched Soylent Green, you've probably heard its most famous line. Soylent Green is people! That one line exploded into pop culture and never left. It's been quoted or spoofed in The Simpsons, Futurama, Family Guy, and South Park, usually with someone dramatically shouting it. The phrase became a go-to for any creepy twist, especially in science fiction or parodies. What's wild is that even people who've never seen the movie still get the reference. That kind of lasting impact is rare. Soylent Green didn't just make a mark, it became part of pop culture language. Number 16. The cult following. When Soylent Green first hit theaters in 1973, it wasn't a massive hit. Reviews were mixed, and some people thought the movie was just too weird. But over time, something strange happened. The movie built a loyal cult following. By the 1990s and 2000s, fans began to rediscover Soylent Green on VHS, DVD, and late-night TV. Science fiction lovers and environmentalists started praising its bold message and creepy accuracy. The film's strange tone, eerie soundtrack, and unforgettable final line helped cement its place as a must-see for genre fans. Today, it's often listed among the most important dystopian films ever made. College classes study it, and pop culture still references it. What started as a quiet release turned into a classic, not because it was perfect, but because it dared to go somewhere dark, and it never looked away. Number 17. The title was changed to avoid a sitcom mix-up. Originally, Soylent Green was going to be called Make Room, Make Room, just like the novel it's based on. But the studio had second thoughts, and the reason's actually pretty funny. They were worried people would confuse it with the popular 1950s sitcom Make Room for Daddy. Even though the two had nothing in common, producers didn't want people thinking this dark science fiction thriller was a family comedy. To avoid confusion, they went with Soylent Green, naming it after the mysterious food in the film. It didn't spoil the twist, but added to the curiosity. What is Soylent Green? Why does it matter? The new title was creepy, simple, and stuck in people's heads. Today, it's iconic, but it nearly had a very different name and a totally different first impression. Number 18. First movie to mention greenhouse gas. Way before climate change was part of everyday news, Soylent Green was already warning us. It's actually one of the first mainstream films to mention the greenhouse effect, the buildup of heat in Earth's atmosphere due to pollution. In the movie, heat waves, toxic air, and environmental collapse are all blamed on unchecked industrial activity and overuse of fossil fuels. At the time, this idea was barely understood by the public. Scientists had begun studying climate shifts, but it wasn't something you'd hear on the nightly news. Soylent Green took that science and built a terrifying world around it. Looking back now, it seems eerily prophetic. Today, we talk about wildfires, rising sea levels, and global warming, all things the movie hinted at in its fictional 2022. It wasn't just a science fiction detail, it was an early warning, hiding in a thriller. Number 19. A soundtrack you've probably heard. The soundtrack of Soylent Green might seem like background noise, but parts of it have quietly lived on for decades. Composed by Fred Myrow, the score mixes classical-style arrangements with eerie, futuristic sounds, perfectly fitting the film's sad, strange tone. What's surprising is how often this music has popped up in unexpected places. Some of the instrumental themes have been sampled in hip-hop and electronic music over the years. Artists looking for something retro, haunting, or cinematic often dig up old science fiction soundtracks, and Soylent Green delivers that exact vibe. Even if you haven't seen the movie, there's a chance you've heard pieces of its music without realizing it. It's subtle, but it sticks with you. Number 20. Soylent became a real product. Here's a weird one. Soylent Green actually inspired a real drink called Soylent. Yep, in 2013, a startup in Silicon Valley launched a meal replacement shake with that exact name. It's supposed to give you all the nutrition you need in one bottle. The founders said the name came from the original book, Make Room, not the whole Soylent Green is people thing. But let's be real, everyone made that connection. Instead of dodging it, the company leaned into the dark joke. It worked. Soylent took off with busy tech workers. And thankfully, it's made from soy and algae, not humans. We're almost at the end of the video, and if you've made it this far, one thing's clear. Soylent Green is more than just an old science fiction flick with a wild twist. It was bold, strange, and way ahead of its time, warning us about pollution, overpopulation, and government secrets, all the way back in 1973. What really stays with you, though, is the emotion. Saul and Thorne's bond, that heartbreaking goodbye, and the unforgettable final line. Even today, it still hits hard. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like subscribe for more movie breakdowns, and tell us your favorite dystopian film or weird twist in the comments.